All right, UFC 249 just passed this weekend. My predictions were pretty dead on. Not doesn't happen like that all the time, but this one I hit out the park. And just my thoughts of it after everything that happened. Let's start with Francis Ngannou, who just blew out uh, Rosencheck, who was supposed to be, was supposed to be his a big challenge for him. And I thought Francis was gonna win, but maybe I didn't assume that he win that easy. There's a flaw that we have to talk about. Like, so say if a boxer, right, a pro boxer went into MMA, and then people would say, well, he's just his hands. He doesn't use all the striking. The angles are different. He would just get chopped to the legs, right? And I mean, that's I guess true. In some examples that we've seen, right? That's been effective, I guess, the chopping the legs and taking them down, whatever, all these things, right? Whatever, is because they didn't get to train for it, right? Like if you just went in there just being a boxer, right? But what they do, boxing doesn't get credit for is all the things that the MMA fighters use is mostly boxing when it comes to the hands, right? Now, there's say you could give some credit to kickboxing and stuff like that, but along with the movement, the angles, and all that, that's all boxing. Some of the head movement, all these things. It's mostly a boxing. The guys that are really good, they use more of a boxing base, right? Like Conor McGregor, let's say Cody Gambrandt, DC. All these guys are mostly using boxing, right? And the kickboxing and everything's their knees, they're kicking, all those things. That's kickboxing. I don't give them the credit for it. But if you went to box, they would point out major flaws in their style and everything like that. And they don't do that with any other style but boxing. Um, and then you have a Rosenstrike or Czech or Rosenstrike, I believe his name is. I'm not sure, right? But you have a kickboxer, right? And he's a pro kickboxer, a good record, solid record. And they never point out any flaws to it. It's because boxing's their direct competition. Kickboxing is not really in the competition. They see kickboxing as a part of MMA and boxing not a part of it, right? Because there's still boxing is successful on its own. And the guy comes in, and there's a flaw in kickboxing, and it's obvious, and no one brings it up. And it's because they cannot fight going backwards, and it's because they're too stiff and straight up. And in kickboxing, the guys mostly, if you see a kickboxing fight, they stand right in front of each other. They kick, they punch from a far distance. They have really huge gloves, right? So the power of the hands is not that effective, so they can take more shots. And they're usually kicking each other, and they're never really moving back. Not a lot of movement, and that's what the problem is. And in MMA, you can straight bull rush a guy. And they don't really do that in kickboxing. And they do it, it's real stiff, and then they hold, and the rep breaks them up, and they do it again, right? And you would say, well, there's holding in boxing, but there's more movement in boxing, more angles, definitely. Watch a boxing fight, watch kickboxing fight, just the angles and everything is just completely different, right? Just a completely different thing. Just the movements, the angles, the levels of punching, the way they use their body up and down. And maybe you can't do kickboxing because if you go down, the guys are kicking the head. I haven't studied kickboxing enough to say what the problem would be with these things. But with going with a lower stance or something like that, I would have to study it more and see if it could be effective. But as what I'm saying is they don't have that, right? And when they come to MMA, right, and you're a kickboxer like that, and that guy just bull rushes you, right? He just bull rushes. They don't know what to do. They panic. They're straight up. And the thing with Israel Adesanya is the same thing with Yoel Romero did. Just bull rushed him, and he gave him a lot of problems when he did that. He just literally bull rushed him, and he gave him a lot of problems. And this guy, and that's exactly what Francis did. He just bull rushed him, and the guy had no answer for it. And he went straight back, like literally helpless. He looked helpless. And what Francis did wasn't a lot of skill. It was just saying, I'm just gonna bull rush and there's nothing you could do about it. And he was right. And he did a right calculation there. It was no skill where Francis did. There was nothing like where I was like, oh wow, technically that was great. No, there wasn't. And I heard Terry Atlas talk on this, and he was talking about how Francis, he reminded of Deontay Wilder with a lot less, skill stand up wise. But he hit hard, and he was just his size, and then because the way he hits, he could just do stuff like that, and the power will make up for it. But there's no one, not pointing out, no Joe Rogan, none of them saying, and no one will say, the MMA guys, to say that kickboxing has a major flaw to it, and it's the movement. They're not moving. They cannot move backwards. And what Rose should have, what Rosencheck or Strike, whatever the hell his name was, should have did was under the punches or go into Francis. But he went straight back. He panicked, and that's what happened. And he got slept. And Francis is so big, and he hits so hard. And I don't think there's a guy technical enough. Stipe was that when in his prime, but Stipe has been knocked out. He's got injuries and everything. I don't know if he could survive Francis again. He survived the first time. Yeah, he just had more skill than him, and I thought he was do that because I thought like, well, this guy's has more skill. He's a better boxer, so he's gonna figure out a way. And even with all that, he barely survived. And DC's not gonna survive that. I mean, DC says he'll take him down, but I don't know if he survives. It might look a lot like Kane. I don't think he'll survive those shots right now. So Francis is gonna win, but I don't think he's not technically anything amazing. No, but he hits hard. And he's not afraid of anyone right now. And he feels like he's in a zone right now where he could put anyone to sleep that he hits. And he's right. And he's got that confidence, and that makes him even scarier. Dominic Cruz was pissed about the stoppage. And it was a good stoppage. You get 9 straight shots. Whether you're going up, down, whatever. 9 straight shots, unanswered. You have to stop the fight. And the ref was drunk or smoking or whatever, right? Shouldn't be doing that. If that's the case, I don't know if that's the case. Kind of seems kind of a weird thing to say. And I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't buy that the ref was he doing it backstage when there's no fans. It's everybody's being watched. They're in quarantine. He was smoking and drinking backstage. No one noticed. He showed up. They're doing testing. They're watching everyone. No one noticed this guy. Hey, this guy smells like booze and cigarettes. No one noticed. He got hit. You got hit continuously. They had to stop the fight. He said that he told the ref to not to let him go to sleep. Don't stop it. Or don't stop it. Let me go to sleep. Whatever. That's not the ref's job to listen to you. Well, yeah, okay. I told him. Who cares what you said? That's not his job to listen to you. His job's not to. Oh, well, this guy did tell him let me go to sleep. That's not his job. His job's to protect you, and he did. He protected you. That fight went exactly how I thought it would. Dominic Cruz makes way too many mistakes for the guys nowadays. That worked back then when the stand-up was not the level it is now. But there's too many mistakes. It's right there. He put his head right over his knee. Of course he got knocked out like that. Way too many mistakes. I said it beforehand. His movement, it's fun to watch. It looks really cool, but there's a lot of useless things in there. There's a lot of stuff that you shouldn't do. It's just mistakes. Ferguson, Gaethje, really good fight. Really good. Really, really good fight. Really entertaining. And Gaethje did what I thought he would do, but he was even more composed than I thought he would be. He had more composure, right? Even more composure. And Ferguson, for all things I said that he was chinning and everything like that, his chin held up. And you would say he got stopped, but it took a lot to stop him, right? And it went exactly the way I thought it would go, honestly. I thought Ferguson made way too much mistake standing up, and they just hadn't faced a guy good enough to make him pay for it. And when he faced Pettis was way past his prime as a shot fighter, and he even hurt him, but he couldn't seal the deal, right? And he had been hurt multiple times from multiple guys, and I just knew it was just a matter of time before he faced a guy good enough stand up wise to really make him pay for those mistakes. And he makes a lot of mistakes, and the damage he took there, right? MMA has to acknowledge that they cannot allow a guy to take that much damage again. The doctors have to step in, a ref has to step in, and these corners have to start adjusting. Okay, these guys are not superheroes. Okay, they're not. He's not they call him Al Kukui. He's not really that. He's just a human being. And we maybe these guys buy into these myths too much about these guys. And he's a normal person, and he took a beating in there, and he took maybe a round more of a beating than he had to. I thought he should have stopped it the round before. I thought his corner should have did the right thing. And when he's shaking his head like that after getting hit in that last shot, he's trying to shake the cobwebs out of his brain, and that's serious damage being done to him. Okay, that is serious damage and shots that he took, right? And you have to realize as the fighters get better, right, and as they're used to more stand-up and all this, they're going to take more damage. So when UFC before, like one guy landed and the guy would go to sleep. Watch old UFC, watch Chuck Liddell, watch all the things. The guys were not in a good position, so they couldn't take the one shot, they go to sleep. But now they're getting better at stand-up, and they're doing more stand-up in the ring and training. So they're going to take more damage, but you cannot take this much damage, okay? I don't care what their hype is or how tough they are. They can't take this much damage. They're just normal human beings, okay? Don't buy into this thing. They're not anything. They're a lot of will, a lot of power and strength, but they're still humans, and they still have injury. They're still going to get injured just like everything else. And Gaethje put a beating onto him, and I thought it was a round more than it should have been, and no one really talked about that. No one even mentioned stopping the fight. I didn't think that was good. And I thought Gaethje's performance was amazing. I really enjoyed it. He's a horrible matchup for Khabib. Not saying Khabib won't win. I'll pick Gaethje in that fight, but I said that before going into this. that I picked Gaethje to win that fight because he's just a bad matchup. Now, we haven't seen Gaethje's wrestling. We know it's a high level because of college, but if he's not using it in fights, that's not necessarily going to mean he's going to translate in an actual fight he hasn't used in a while. So we'll have to see. That's what we want to see. It could be tested. But it's a bit of a rock, paper, scissors situation, what I say MMA usually is. Because I believe Conor would smoke Gaethje. I think he would. I think that Gaethje's there to be hit. And when he got dropped with the uppercut, if you can punch from a straight, because Gaethje cannot punch from a distance. If you're from a far enough distance, he's going to miss you. And the only way to get to you is to walk straight into you. He's going to walk straight into Conor's shots? I don't think so. And I think Conor could hit him with those uppercuts and the straight left from far away. I think he would sleep him, honestly. I think Conor McGregor would tear apart Gaethje. But if Khabib cannot get down Gaethje, and there's a chance he might not be able to, right? Just say that Gaethje doesn't have to out-wrestle him. That's the thing that people think is like, he's going to out-wrestle Khabib. He doesn't have to out-wrestle him. He just has to defend against his wrestling and keep it standing. Because Khabib's stand-up is horrible. It's not great. It's not good at all. It's like, he landed that shot on Conor, but that's mostly because Conor didn't want to get taken down and was dead tired at that point. He doesn't have good stand-up. And if he gets in a stand-up match with Gaethje is going to light him up. So Gaethje's a bad matchup for Khabib, right? Conor's a bad matchup for Gaethje. And from what we've seen, I can only go off past things. Now, I would pick Conor to beat Khabib, but going off past evidence, what we have to go off of, Khabib would beat Conor. It's literally rock, paper, scissors. Now, Conor's saying that he's going to get the next title shot, right? And there's a chance he might. And the reason is because Khabib, right, this whole situation, he's in Russia. Because of his religion, he can't fight anytime soon. Gaethje knows that Conor's the money fight. Now, the whole thing with Conor, I think, is hard to say, is without fans, you're giving up a lot of money. You're giving up a packed house, right? And does the UFC really want to do that? Now, they seem like they're willing, but remember, it was just Gaethje Ferguson. It wasn't Conor. It wasn't Khabib, right? They were going to do Khabib, though. They were going to do it in an empty thing, so I guess they're willing to do that. But Conor and Gaethje, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense to do it. To me, like the best thing that could play out for Conor, right? The best thing. Say if you believe that he can't beat Khabib, right? The best thing would let Gaethje fight Khabib then. Conor take another fight. Let Gaethje fight Khabib. If Gaethje beats Khabib, right? Then Conor could fight Gaethje, which is a better matchup for him. And then he would take that. If he gets that win and becomes the champ, he somehow oversteps Khabib without ever having to face him. Most likely, if Khabib loses, he might be one of those guys that just says he's done. And he already said he don't want to fight Conor, right? So Conor gets a belt. Then at some point, if you're doing like, if you're just looking at it, right, you would say, well, Gaethje beat Khabib and Conor beat Gaethje. And Gaethje beat Ferguson. So Conor would overstep all these guys in the long run. But I think Gaethje and Conor are probably going to fight each other next. And I think we're going to be a while before we see Khabib fight. And the next Khabib fight will probably be Conor. And the UFC would hope that everybody can have fans again, which I don't know if that's going to happen. Doesn't seem realistic right now at this point. Looking from today, doesn't seem realistic, but that's what they would want. Another thing that I was, like Tony Ferguson, like people I know, his fans are loyal to him, and they think like he's going to come back stronger in this. Tony Ferguson is done. Tony Ferguson is done. You don't take beatings like that. You don't have mistakes that huge, and you come back and you're gonna be effective. Okay, if you're gonna put him in with Cerrone, yeah, he'll get a win. Okay, you're gonna put him in with Pettis, yes. But if you're gonna put him in with a real guy, you're gonna put him in with Dustin. You're gonna put him in with Gaethje. You're gonna put him with Khabib. And all. He's shot. He's not. It's it. That was it. That was the final beating he could take. He's not beating Conor. Conor would have smoked him in a round. Not beating Conor. Okay, and you could be, the diehard fan for this guy, right? But you just got to face the truth. You don't take beatings like that and come back. I was listening to Teddy Atlas's podcast, and he was talking about how there's upsets in the UFC, right? And the underdog wins, and he wanted to know why that was. And I took a different the way he explained it, right? I took something different from it. And I think because the MMA is so really misunderstood, I feel like Gaethje to me was an underdog fight. Like I don't believe an underdog won that night. I just thought it was like I said, it was a pick'em fight. And I think I thought if people were really knew what they were looking at, they would know. I mean, because Teddy has probably never even seen Gaethje fight before that night, so he was just going in with the what he was being told that Gaethje was underdog, right? And but I feel like if you're like a betting man or something like that, you can make a killing on MMA right now because no one knows how to bet it. No one really knows what they're seeing. To me, that's what I'm seeing, right? And the commentators aren't honest. So if you look at the commentators in MMA, everyone's great. John Anik, and he asked him, anyone's great. Everyone's great. Anyone can win any night, right? That's not really true. That's not true. And if you're not paying attention, right, and you're going through all the hype that Ferguson has, you would be like, oh, he's gonna smoke this guy, right? You would think that, right? But if you're not really watching the fights, right, and you're not really being honest with yourself, I was not surprised at what happened. And then I think about it, right, and I think about the problems that Joe Rogan and Dana White have with Stephen A. Smith, right? Because he called it like he saw it, right? And the problem is, right, with a guy like Stephen A. Smith, right, is it, and the more you get more eyes on this, right, and you get guys that are not like John Anik and not like Joe Rogan, right, who, sometimes it just fluff up everyone, right? And you get like Stephen A. Smith, and he just kind of says it because he has so many. He doesn't really care. If he loses MMA fans, he doesn't. Why does he care? And he just kind of calls it like he sees it, and he says that, Don Cerrone's not a real make a fight for Conor McGregor, right? If you just be honest with it, right? And if you're just honest and you say like, well, that's not a good matchup. That's a tune-up fight. And what happened was what we expected to happen, right? But if you're Joe Rogan or if you're Brendan Schaub and you think everyone has a chance and you build up these guys over past performances happened like 5 years ago, then yeah, then you would think like all these matchups are good. But the more eyes you're going to get on it, right, and reality is going to set in, right? You're gonna start pointing out that a lot of these matchups are bad matchups. And then when a guy wins, right, like Gaethje, he's not really an underdog, but because you don't have enough eyes on it, you think he's an underdog because Tony Ferguson was hyped up so much. But the more eyes you get on it, you would start seeing that Tony Ferguson had a lot of mistakes, and he was hurting a lot of fights. And the thing is that boxing has that. It has people that are honest, and MMA doesn't have a lot of people that are honest. It has some, but not a lot. Not a lot of people that are honest, truly honest on what they're seeing. They afraid to offend the fighter. And you have to respect the fighter, but you can't be afraid to offend. You got to be honest. And I don't think they are. I don't think they are most of the time. They got a lot of fights coming up. There's a fight tomorrow with what is I know it's Textiera versus I believe Smith. Let me take a look. Confirm this real quick. Textiera versus Anthony Smith. Yeah, Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith fought Joe Rogan. I mean, fought Joe Rogan. Fought Johnny Bones Jones to a decision, and he's considered a contender at a 205. And 205 to me is a pretty weak division. It's basically to me John Jones and Dominic Cruz. No, not Dominic Cruz. John Jones and Dominic Reyes. Sorry. John Jones versus Dominic Reyes to me are the top guys. And I truly didn't think Dominic Reyes was at the level of John Jones, but he showed that a lot of times you get a prospect and sometimes he looks a level of the guys he fights. And then when he gets a guy like John Jones or a guy that's elite, he shows that he is at that level. And that's what to me Dominic Reyes did show. To me, he beat John Jones, right? He didn't get the decision, but to me, he beat John Jones. Okay, Smith, I don't see that, right? I think that I don't think Smith's ever going to be that level. To me, his stand-up is very wild. There's nothing too pinpoint about it. He's big. He's athletic, but that doesn't make you a fighter. And I don't think that Smith's that great of a fighter. I think that he's in a division that doesn't have a lot of talent, and he stands out among the not that talented people, just average fighters, right? And I don't think that if he was in another weight class with the skill set he wouldn't even be top 10, 15, maybe not even top 15. And Texera is whatever he was, he was hyped up or everything. He's so slow, right? So sluggish. His ground, of course, his ground's very good, but he's so slow. His age, I'm pretty sure he's close to 40, if not 40 already, or in his 40s. He's not like, what I mean? Like, these are the contenders of that weight division. It's not a good weight division. It's not a strong weight division. There's really no one there. And it's like a matchup, and it's a fun matchup, I would say. Like, it's fun. I think there's a matchup that Smith should win just out of being the busier fighter. He just has to be in control, right? He would have to control his spurts because he doesn't have the skill to, like, he's gonna set up Textiera for shots because he doesn't have the precision in his strikes, right? But if he can explode at times and then get away and wrap up and protect himself from Textiera's slow punches but hard hitting, right? He should win this fight. And to me, that he should win a decision on this fight. There is a chance he does have power that he could knock him out, but Textiera is very tough, and I don't think a knockout's going to come easy in this fight. I'll take Smith by a decision in this fight, and it's really, I don't know where you can go for him. Is if Smith can get another title shot? You hear John Jones, and he says that he won't fight Reyes unless it's a super fight, right? Unless it's paid like a super fight, and maybe I think he might be right about that. But it really just, like I said, it just goes, who else is going to fight, though? Like, if you UFC, like, well, who else am I going to pay you to fight if it's not Reyes, right? And he's talking about an exhibition fight at 220, and I don't get why exhibition. Why is it not just move to heavyweight? The thing about John Jones is he's always, when it comes to being like a star or like doing the thing, he never does it. Like, he never does it. Like, everything, he's been around forever, and he has not, like, took a chance at heavyweight, right? He's had lackluster performances. It's just like things that, like, and you have excuses made for him that he does, it's just because he doesn't care about the opponent or he doesn't get up for the opponent. And that's a skill to do that. You know what I mean? You never really hear about Connor, right? He didn't get up for an opponent. That's not, you never really hear that. And you never hear that about Khabib. But, John Jones gets that excuse, and people get, like, he gets that, and then people disregard the bad performances that he's had. That the division, there's nothing else there. If it's not Reyes, I don't know who. Then you gotta go to heavyweight, and I don't get an exhibition. I don't get what that is. Does the UFC allow that? They're gonna allow a charity fight? I don't get what's going on. I don't get what he means by that. So we got that card. You got another card coming. So the UFC is gonna be shooting them out, and I'm grateful for it. And I thought that card was really well done. It was extremely entertaining. I thought everybody was watching it. Everybody had an opinion on it, and it was the right move to make for Dana White. And this is the reason when Ted Lasso was talking about it, and I really never really was at this point. But I say though, but this is the reason why the business is headed in a good direction, right? Because they see these opportunities. And there's direction from a whole company of a fighting organization, just like the NFL, like NBA. There's a direction that this guy had, and he brought it out, and it was the right time, and it was done correctly, it was done respectfully, and it was entertaining as hell, and it gave people a lot to talk about, and it did wonders for Gaethje. It did wonders for even Ferguson. It did wonders for Francis, and and Cejudo retired, which I was surprised. I didn't take him seriously, but I guess everything after I'm reading after this and hearing his interviews, I guess he's retired from MMA, and he's one of the more talented fighters retired, and it probably destroys the flyweight division. I believe that's the lowest weight, it's the flyweight division, and yeah, I don't know if the UFC was already thinking about canceling it before. It's probably not going to bring it along now, and that's unfortunate because there's a lot of skill down there. I enjoy watching the smaller guys fight because I really think they embody the full thing of MMA. You get to see all the skills that going on because they have their body. Their body is more allowed. They have way more movement. You know what I mean? And speed, and they can mix it all together at a faster pace. It's just, to me, like when I think of MMA at its highest, like truly getting the full experience of it, it's at the lower weights, like with guys like that. But I guess it's done, so we'll see what the UFC goes from there. There's a lot of contenders at that weight, at the weight above it, so we'll see, probably like a tournament or something like that. But either way, that guy's a great fighter. I don't think he'll ever be truly appreciated for the skill he had because he just wasn't in long enough. But you got to think he beat Mighty Mouse, and Mighty Mouse is prime. He beat Mighty Mouse, and Mighty Mouse was amazing. You know what I mean? And this guy beat him, and this guy he beat Dillashaw. You know what I mean? Like these are high skilled guys, and he beat him. He knocked out Dominic Cruz, and he would say, "Well, Dominic Cruz is past prime, maybe." right? Yeah, probably. But still, I mean, it made easy work of him though. And I just wish it, sometimes the body doesn't want to do it no more. And I understand that. And these fighters, I mean, this is a grueling business. If you want to get out, get out. Like then it says, if you're thinking of retirement, then retire. And I agree with that. But I wish I could have, just selfishly wanted to see his skill more. And I guess we're not going to do that. But I will do another podcast later this week to talk about the Smith fight and then preview the next fight coming up. This has been The Weigh In.